Hello again, welcome to another Sons of Cinema review. My name is Ron, and today's movie is the 2025 horror/western movie, Blood in Them Hills. This movie is an hour and 54 minutes long. It's currently on Tubi if you want to check it out. It's directed by Kellen Gardner and Christopher Sheffield. It stars Arya Song, Peter Sherayako, and Brian Shakti. Now let's get into the synopsis. As always, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. This movie starts off, we're in a cabin, and there is a mother, there is a teenage girl, who's about 13, 14, and there is a baby girl and a father. Now, this father is being possessed by a demon in this scene, and he eventually becomes worse and worse. They end up trying to take a tooth out of him. That you can see he's been wounded on his shoulder, and they take this big demon tooth out of him, but by this time he's already turning more and more. He's changing into this entity, and currently they're waiting on a midwife to come and take a look at the husband. They wanted a doctor, but apparently everyone in town knows that this guy is crazy. There's something wrong with him. So all that will come is this midwife, and we'll meet her again later on. And she's played by Arya Song, and her name is Willow. So eventually the father kills the mother, smashes her head in. I don't really recall how he kills the daughter, but that's kind of like then title sequence. And then we go to the next scene after the title sequence, and it is a scene where there's a shootout at a saloon, and in this shootout, one of the guys, he ends up shooting somebody, so they lock him up. Well, he's part of a gang, and there's this guy named Joe who's in charge of the gang, and we kind of see him in the next scene. He just finished banging some girl, and she's married, and she's actually married to the guy who owns the bank. And that scene is just a quick, like, yeah, I love you kind of scene, but he's really just using her. Anyway, so Joe now has to deal with getting his cousin out of jail. So it looks like they already had a plan to rob a bank. So Joe gets everyone together. They break his cousin out of prison, out of jail, and then his cousin ends up helping him rob the bank. So they rob a bank immediately after this jailbreak, and then they end up the cousin. He ends up. His name is Mac, and he ends up killing the sheriff. And they all escape together. And then what we have is basically a mutiny amongst this gang. Joe stole gold from the bank, so he really wasn't going to tell them about the gold because he was more pissed about the cousin getting arrested for a stupid bar, brawl with guns, and then killing the sheriff. But at this time, cousin Mac, he wants to take over the gang, so obviously they betray Joe, and during this time the people from the town come to where they're hiding out, and starts kind of a fight with them, a gunfight, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool scene. And in the chaos, Joe ends up escaping, so he escapes, but the town doctor, who was a friend of the sheriff, goes after Joe, and he eventually catches up to him and captures him so that he can take him back to town, and so Joe can stand trial for the murder of the sheriff, even though he didn't technically do it. It was the cousin, but the doctor doesn't believe him. So after the doc basically knocks out Joe, captures him, and puts him on a horse, he stitches him up because Joe had happened to be injured during the battle when the townspeople come to meet up with the gang. And the doctor and him begin to travel, and then they come upon this cabin that we saw at the beginning of the movie, where the family was in. Well, the baby is still there and the baby is still alive, but now the midwife who was on her way to the cabin in the beginning has um, has got the baby, and now she's got a rifle and she's trying to protect the baby. And they all decide that they should take Willow and the baby and take them away from this cabin and take them with them to the next town. I think they're going back to the town where all the shit kicked off, but it's kind of it's here or there. They really don't explain it, but they decide to take Willow and the baby with them, and they head out. And then along the way, you've got these this group of Apache Native Americans who are following them, and we're assuming they're wanting to hurt these people because they're they're light-skinned people and they don't like them on their land, and they're Apaches. Apaches are predominantly badasses in history. So we've got these Native Americans watching them, and Willow and the baby, we discover her name is Jane. So Willow and Jane again are with Joe, and the doctor's name is John. So we've got them all together. We've got the Apaches watching and waiting to attack, we think. And then there's a scene where the demon catches up with them, meaning Joe, John, Willow, and Jane, and begins to attack. But he doesn't hurt them. He just basically kills their horse and mangles and eats their horse and leaves them be. And during this, the Apaches are watching this, but they don't attack. So you're not really sure what's going on with them. But then they do get a look at the demon for the first time. And then we've got them basically, they keep traveling, and they run out of food for the baby. They don't have anything. So they've got to figure out a way to get food. So they end up going to a trading post. And in this trading post, they want to get some food to eat, some drink. They get a stew, and there ends up being like a finger in the stew. So we come to realize these people at this trading post are all cannibals, and they eat whatever people they can get. Apparently, they don't really explain how. And then they have this fucking cool jar with a head in it, but they're marinating pickles in it, and they're eating these pickles. And then they offer a pickle to the Dr. John, and to be polite, he ends up taking a bite. So they're like, well, how much do we owe you? And they're like, well, this is a trading post. So, for 4 cans of milk and let's see, the stew. And he goes, we'll take your baby. That'll be fair in trade. And they're like, fuck that. We're not giving you this baby so you can eat it. And you can hear everyone in the room all, ooh, yeah. Like, oh, fuck, we're going to get some fucking baby tonight. But they're like, no, here, fuck that. So the doctor pulls out a bar of gold from the robbery at the beginning, and they accept that in payment. So they take off. They get the fuck out of there. They go, they camp out. But the people from the trading post are like, fuck that. We want that baby. Get in my belly. I want your baby. And they want it bad, and they want to eat the fuck out of this baby. So they come and they attack this group while they're out. And during the attack, finally the Apaches get in on it, and they're fighting. And the demon shows up, and he's fighting. But it turns out that the Apaches are actually helping and watching over the group to protect the baby, because they know that this demon is coming for it. And so they have a big battle. Most of the people get fucked up in that trading post party, and then we press on, and they move a little bit more, travel a little bit more, and finally they camp out again. And this last kind of big brawl is when the gang led by his cousin Mac finally catches up to John, and the baby, and they start, eventually start fighting. The demon shows up. Willow ends up getting killed. The demon, for some reason, just slashes the shit out of her and kills her. And finally, John and Joe have to watch over this baby. But during this whole battle scene, John the doctor gets bit on the arm, and he starts turning. And while he's turning, he's basically kicking the shit out of all the other people, that were in the gang. That and Mac, all they want is the gold, but Joe's like, fuck that. He's hardcore with this shit. He doesn't want to give him nothing. He hates him, so he ends up fighting in the end with Mac, and he ends up shooting Mac and killing him. And basically, John kills everybody else, and we're left with at the end, we're left with John and Joe and the baby after this big battle. And Joe's really messed up because Mac was kicking the shit out of him, but then he pulled out his pistol and just shot him. And, that was the end of Mac. And what we have here is basically a scene where John, the doctor's telling Joe, he knows he's dying, so he's telling him, look, you're a good dude, Joe. You're a good man, and I'm sorry shit ended up this way. And then he basically blows himself and the demon up. So John, the doc, goes out like a badass, just using dynamite to boom. He blows them both up. And then we have final scenes of Joe. He takes the baby. He goes to town to turn himself in. He turns in the gold. He's on trial, and they sentence him to 10 years in prison, and he accepts it. And then in the final scene, he's at a train station at the end. He's clearly older, so you assume that he did his 10 years. And he sees this little girl who's about a 10-year-old, and you can tell he's instantly thinking of the baby, and if she turned out okay. And the girl ends up waving to him, and he waves back, and that's it. That's the end of the movie. Things I liked about this movie. This movie's cool. There's some cool shit in this movie. It's filmed really well. It's friggin' beautiful. These scenes like in the snow, and all these filming the vistas and the beautiful scenery as they're traveling through this movie. I really like that. It's a beautiful movie. The acting was good, especially Arya Song. The guy who played Joe, he was hilarious in this movie. He always had a bunch of one-liners and jokes and shit that he would say. And this movie moves quick. I really appreciate that. Even though it's an hour and 54, it moves quickly. Things I didn't like. This is a nitpick, but Cousin Mac, they make him in the last part of the movie when they catch up with Joe and the group. He's way older. They grade up his beard. It just looked out of place, because you notice in the first half of the movie, he's got gray, but he's like me. It's darker, but then in the last half of the movie, it's almost all white, and it just kind of bugged me. The ending is kind of anticlimactic. It's not as exciting as you would want it to be with this demon. I could have used a little more demon in this movie. Also, not really sure what the demon's motive is, why he wants to kill the baby. I don't know, maybe because he knows that the human part of him, that was his daughter. But I don't know. I don't know if I missed it or if it really didn't explain it, but I didn't get the demon's motivation. And the best scenes in this movie are definitely the beginning sequence in the cabin with the family. That's awesome. It's done really well, and it's quick, and it just leads right into the title sequence. And the trading post scene was awesome. It's really intense, especially when you find out that these fucking guys want to eat you. It's a good it's a good intense scene that luckily ends well for everybody, but it's a cool scene. Also, Willow saving the baby from the demon as she's getting like she's basically huddling over the baby as she's getting slashed up by this demon, and you know she goes out like a badass, and it's sad, and she's a really good actress in this movie. And anyway, also the ending scene when everything kind of comes together and they start fighting with the with his old gang. It's pretty cool, and again, you get to see the demon in spurts, but mostly in that scene you got John kicking the crap out of everybody, and it's cool because you could start seeing him slowly change in his face, and he's getting claws and shit, and you could tell he got stronger as he's kicking the shit out of everybody. So those are my favorite scenes. And my final thoughts. This movie was awesome. I loved it. It's kind of a cross between like 310 to Yuma, like meets Bone Tomahawk, but it's like Bone Tomahawk light. And you put those two movies together, and this is kind of what you have. It's I love westerns, so that also kind of, you know, modern westerns, I should say. I don't like old western shit like John Wayne. I don't really dig that kind of shit, but spaghetti westerns I love. Any modern like westerns are awesome, like Unforgiven, 310 to Yuma. So yeah, if you get, this is like 310 to Yuma in and Bone Tomahawk light, and I love it. There's not as much gore, but there is a little bit. Again, wish I could have seen a little bit more of the demon. I'll definitely put this movie on my shelf. I recommend it to anybody, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope to see y'all again later.